Hello, students. This is Dr. Ulrich. I'm meeting you in Denver, but yet you're in Ohio. What a magical world we live in. So keep in mind during all of our interactions that I'll be about 2 hours off from you. I'm a little bit behind. Or maybe you're all ahead. So what I wanted to do right now is go over the syllabus and just pretend we're in class right now, and I'm doing that really boring thing where the professor reads through the syllabus and makes little comments on it. But I do feel that this is an important thing to do in any class, and sort of sets our tone to understand that the syllabus is sort of our game plan. I like to think of the syllabus actually as our enemy. It's our enemy that we are up against. It is my goal to help you through that syllabus so we can fight against it. However, this syllabus is a bit tentative. This is my first time teaching at YSU. It's also my first time using Blackboard, and I really want to adjust the syllabus as we go along in order to get the students to be exactly where they need to be, and so my expectations can be dead on and have us all have the best experience we can. So this syllabus will be tentative and subject to change. All right, here we go. I am going to move to the share screen, and in just a minute, we will begin talking through the syllabus. So bear with me. Here we go. All right, so you should be seeing on your screen that the class is Introduction to Asian Religions. I am Dr. Ulrich. The class is asynchronous, i.e. we will not be meeting together live at any given point, having chats or anything. I will not have office. You can meet with me via Zoom, Skype, or email. So you should be reading through the syllabus now as I'm going through this as well. Also, if you hear a dog barking, that is my delightful pug named Arlo, and he is fantastic. He's got a little bit of a yelpy yelp. So for the course description, Asia is hard to describe. Once it was called the Orient, a term meaning where the sun rises, i.e. to the east. But you know, east can be different depending on where one orients herself. And we ought to constantly reorient ourselves. Perhaps Asia is the land of enlightenment, self-discovery, primal authenticity. Perhaps Asia is an economic powerhouse, home to innumerable humans, land of bustling villages and giant cities. Maybe Asia is the land of yoga. Maybe it's the land of magic. Maybe it's the land of too darn many gods with too darn many arms. That's probably the case. What Asia is for me is a place where I go a lot, I think a lot, and it's a place that allows us to orient ourselves differently. As Westerners, we are not like Asians. Our religions are, for the most part, monotheist as opposed to polytheist. The various ways in which people structure their minds are different, but there's also a lot of commonalities. So Asia is the place that I like to get confused about. I'm excited that you can get confused with me for this 16-week journey we're about to go on. So I'll continue reading. In reality, Asia is a collection of diverse cultures and people who sometimes overlap and often do not. Asia has a dynamic and incredible history that Westerners have mostly ignored. While its religious doctrines like rebirth and karma are often described, rarely are explored the details of religious places, lives, and cultures, which are far more fascinating and wonderful than simply thinking that karma is you do this and that comes back and happens to you, or that people are born to be different things in reincarnation. There's just much more to it than our simple thoughts. Introduction to Asian Religions surveys Asian religious cultures in India for the first 8 weeks, and the second 8 weeks will describe those Indic-oriented religions or origined religions in Tibet, China, and Southeast Asia, with an emphasis on regional cultures and adaptations of Indic religions to non-Indian locations. How do you get Buddhism, which is the one that moves around a lot, that looks a very specific way in India, and move it to Southeast Asia or Tibet or China, and they look completely different, but they're still sort of Buddhism. So how do religions put down roots? India is the birthplace, the great India, where I've spent a lot of my life. India is the birthplace of Hinduism, Buddhism, Jainism, and Sikhism. And Indian Islam, in fact, is a unique iteration, equally Indian and Muslim. If you have interactions with Muslims and with Islam, you will see that the Islam of South Asia is different, remarkably different, and you will note that it is remarkably Indic. I find it absolutely thrilling. One of my most large interests when I go to Asia now is to spend time with Muslims, which I never did before as a scholar of Hinduism, but I find Indian Islam absolutely fascinating. All right, so here we go. All right, where was I? So overall, emphases will be placed on identity, ritual, art, magic, and worship, as opposed to specific doctrines, truth claims, or articles of faith. I'm not just going to sit here and talk to you and have you talk back at me about how karma is nifty, or rebirth, or what is the nature of the divine as non-dual or dual. We'll do some of that, but for the most part, we're going to look at religious lives and cultures. While this is an asynchronous online course and students can progress at their own rate, regular assignments and discussion forums will have deadlines, and students must fulfill those deadlines in order to maintain the learning community and get the most out of the ideas. If you get behind, you will be steamrolled. I have this happen when I teach students all the time. There's online, you get a little bit behind and then you get further behind, and the next thing you know, there's no way to keep up. So it's up to you to really keep up on the tasks at hand and the lectures and the reading and everything. Online classes are actually quite a bit more work than the in-class versions, and I also can't intervene as much as I am when I'm able to teach in class. So you're gonna have to be self-directed. All right, so our objectives. Students will be able to articulate key doctrines and histories of Indic origin religions, gain an awareness of the geographies of Asia, articulate various modes of religion on the ground for Indic origin religions, noting overlaps and divergences whenever possible, describe how Indic origin religions set down roots in cultures throughout Tibet, China, and Southeast Asia. We're not going to do much with Japan. I had to make a cut somewhere. Articulate such theoretical paradigms as polytheism, like believing in multiple gods. We're so much monotheists, thinking that everything is essentially, you know, one entity interacting with us and creating the earth. But what does it mean that there are multiple entities that interact with us, that are constantly all around us? Religion on the ground, or what do people actually do? What are religious lives? Literary versus vernacular, namely, you know, what is scripture versus stories that are spoken or things that are done on the ground. Pragmatic ritual technologies, i.e. magic. I'm actually an expert in magic, specifically black magic in medieval India, so we'll talk about that. The effects of colonialism, when the British and the French and the Dutch had their colonial empires set up in India, also in Vietnam, never in Thailand, never in Tibet, never in Nepal. Tibet has its own problem with colonialism with the Chinese. And of course, religion in modernity, or how do we go from these old school, you know, the old word would be archaic religions, into this modern, enlightened world of rationality and materiality and transnational status and global flows of economy. All right, and you're also going to be able to write in multiple genres about the religions of Asia. So all the materials are going to be on Blackboard. I've given you the citations here for the first 8 weeks of the class. And also the first 3 you'll see will be the main books we're working at. If you want to buy them on Amazon.com, go for it. I'm going to put them up here for you because time is short. So the thing there is I read much better on paper. So if you wanted to buy those books or just have those books, I recommend them. They're excellent. All right, so reading note. There's quite a lot of reading for this course. So students should read with a purpose. Do not try to incorporate every bit of data in the reading, but focus on overall themes. I expect you to thoroughly read every word assigned, wink, wink, but I also realize that this is difficult. So I suggest you read anything that you find interesting really carefully, with an eye to maybe something you want to write a paper on. But you look to the assignments and the discussions to kind of figure out what you need to focus on. So if the assignments or discussions say, look at this text or this text, you're going to want to focus on those more. A lot of the times I have like an introductory text and then detailed text, sort of like overall arguments and case studies. So read them accordingly. All right, don't get bogged down learning a bunch of Sanskrit terms, for I will tell you any words that you absolutely must know. Also, work in groups if you can, if y'all are around, to divide up the reading and teach one another. Some students find it better to do the reading after watching the lecture. I don't recommend this. For the readings, prepare you for the lecture so you get more out of the lecture. I mean, ideally, you could watch the lecture, do the reading, and watch the lecture again, but that's an awful lot of me to be looking at. So that said, you do you, and do what works to assimilate the material as best as possible. Take notes. And if it is helpful, print out the readings so you can annotate. I cannot read well on a computer screen. I'm also a bit dyslexic. So I print out everything so I can write on it. All right, assignments and assessment. So I'm going to state this generally, and then I'm going to go over some details. So readings are going to support key themes in lectures, but the lectures are going to provide the full content for the course. Just watching the videos or just doing the reading are not sufficient. Other assignments described below will provide students with opportunities to synthesize, analyze, and question course content. The majority of students' works is actually going to be short writings and discussions I think you're going to like. I have them be kind of creative. And if all you really have to do to really score those points is do a thorough job answering them, I want you to score as many points as possible there. Discussion boards are going to require students to prepare written posts and responses, but also to create videos and multimedia, like say make a meme. Informal writing assignments range from writing a letter to making a movie pitch to an anthropological report to a local newspaper article about course contents. And this, I'll just ask you to pretend you're an anthropologist or pretend you're a journalist and you've seen something that we've talked about in class and you're writing about it. There are going to be some extra credit assignments, so keep an eye out for those. 60% of your grade can be assured by just satisfactorily completing the assignments. All right, here's my caveat and note. I just got hired recently, so this is my first time teaching at YSU, and it's my first time using Blackboard. So I've taught at a lot of universities, and I've used some other online systems, but there's going to be some struggles as I adapt to this. So as I'm getting to know you and your community, I'm going to be adapting the course as we progress to best fit student needs. So this class is going to differ from the syllabus. You're going to need to look at the class modules for day-to-day lessons. That's going to be your absolute what you need to do. There's going to be some divergence from the syllabus of it, as we move along and as I make changes. Also, I'm going to have exit tickets. So every week you're going to write an exit ticket assignment in which you will evaluate each week's course and your performance, but I also want you to respond to it and make suggestions. These exit tickets will not be an inconsiderable portion of your grade. I think I'm going to give you 10% for them. So I want you to see and work through the process of how I'm working in the class and be involved in it. I'm going to say more about that in a second. So there's your class breakdown on what's going to count for what. I might weasel around with those a bit too. So as for the discussion boards, you're going to have one for almost every day. What I want you to do is I want you to write in a way that's not quite as formal as like the formal writing assignments, but you should be writing in full sentences, express complete thoughts, use standard grammar, use a spell checker, and be sure to read over your post several times before posting. I want you to have good, nice, tight writing. You're not texting, but engaging in a thoughtful academic discussion. The tone should always be respectful and in line with the etiquette for in-person classes. Should the etiquette disintegrate, the professor will intervene. I'm going to let you deal with some more of those details there. Read through them at your leisure. You should be following along, as I said, with your syllabus. I recommend you print this thing out just to have it handy. All right, for the short writing assignments. Short writing assignments and discussion boards are the majority of the classwork. Short writing assignments have a creative component. As I said, they can be everything from letters, movie pitches, travel writing. Short writing assignments are creative. They are not as analytical as the research paper you're going to write, but they are still short. But they ought to use proper standard grammar and spelling with a clear voice. Be sure to write multiple drafts, edit carefully, have you heard this before, and use any grammar and speller software you see fit. Successful short writing assignments will make reference to course material, show an application of that material to the genre I'm asking you to write in, and demonstrate some interpretation or insight of the course material. Students must write at least as many words as specified in the assignment. So these exit tickets I talked about. Since I'm developing this course, and this is my first time teaching at YSU, your insight is incredibly important to me. Exit tickets will be written once a week. Students will get full credit merely by completing them with some degree of thoroughness. This is just boom, just boom. You get 10% of your grade, bam, right there. This is your chance to tell me what you like and don't like, what lectures work and don't work, what assignments and discussion boards are effective or ineffective, which readings are stimulating and which are boring, and so forth. These are easy points for you, and they really help me. As I structure reading sequence and the assignments for the second half of the class, I'm going to use these exit tickets to make the class as effective and enjoyable as possible. So, to use a somewhat cliche analogy, I want you to see how I make the academic sausage. And by having your voice heard, we can make that sausage together. So, I want you to be a part of this class and future offerings of this class at YSU. All right, so for the midterm final exam, I will be administering a midterm final exam on Blackboard. These are not meant to be large parts of your grade, but to be opportunities to review and think through the materials and for people to score points. You know, I'm going to try, I want people that struggle with writing to have an opportunity to score points elsewhere. You're going to get a detailed study guide in advance. I'm going to have you write a midterm and a final research paper, but these are not long. Students, usually I have students write a 10-page and a 4-page, but we have an awful lot to do in these 16 weeks. So, and I can't work with you one-on-one like I do in other cases. I taught writing for years and years and years, so I'm not able to teach it as well online, and that saddens me. So students will write a 750-word midterm research paper and a 500-word final paper. So that's 3 pages, 2 pages, each making use of internal and external research topics and content. So I want you to use a lot of in-class materials, but I want you to use a few external sources. We'll talk about that as it moves on. Students are encouraged to carry as much material as possible from the midterm into the final research paper. You notice it's 750-page, 750-word to a 500-word. That's because I want to work on you writing with clarity and concision. Actually, I think the 500-word is harder to write than the 750-word. All right. I'll give you prompts for that during the second week of each half of each class. Policy regarding plagiarism. Do your own work. I will catch you. All assignments handed in must represent a student's own work. Plagiarism is a serious offense and will be dealt with accordingly. If you use the words or ideas of others without proper citation of your source, you may be suspended or even expelled from the university. I take this very seriously, and if I suspect you have included any amount of material from uncredited sources, I will investigate vigorously. Note, and this is a big note, if you are a student with a documented disability and an IEP and would like to discuss special academic accommodations, contact me during my office hours, or just email me at this point at the beginning of the course. If you're an ESL student, please discuss this with me. If you do not self-advocate, I cannot help you. I take these accommodations very seriously. I've taught a lot of special ed in my time, and I have a background in high school education, and I'm a dyslexic, and when you're really getting right down to it, I spent a lot of time learning really hard archaic Asian languages as a dyslexic. I get it. I get where you're coming from. So get in touch with me at first, and we'll figure out accommodations for you. All right, the rest of the syllabus is a week-to-week breakdown that I'm not going to go through, but you'll see that you'll have, you know, various readings and the occasional videos. You'll almost always have a discussion session, and you'll always have a short writing assignment. That's how the class is going to look. I'm excited that you're here. I hope that we can have an enjoyable time together. Most classes will have like a half an hour of lecture, and then it'll be different tasks that you're going to do. And we're going to get through this together. It's going to be fun. We're going to learn a lot. We're going to get to know each other. I really enjoy teaching this material. I really enjoy teaching online. I look forward to getting to know you, and I look forward to a very exciting spring 2020. Thank you very much, and I will catch you on the flip side.